We're on the record.
Council agenda, Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Township Council agenda meeting of June 13th, 2018.
Oh, that's me. Sorry. An adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the municipal building and on the municipal website on May 30th, 2018, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record on June 4th, 2018, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers on May 30th, 2018. The council meetings are videotaped and aired on Public Access Channel 21 at 7 p.m. Sundays and Wednesdays, and they are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Please rise for the flag salute. Mrs. Peterson, if you would.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. DePiero,
Here.
Ms. Grignani,
Present.
Ms. McCarthy,
Here.
Ms. Peterson,
Here.
Mr. Carriffy.
Here.
Also in attendance are Business Administrator Alan Sandman, Township Attorney Jim Lott, Township Clerk Colette Madden, Council President. We have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Okay, upcoming meetings, June 19th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m., regular meeting. July 10th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m., agenda meeting. Approval of minutes, presentations, reports. Township Council.
I'd like to say one thing. Since we've been going through the budget and we've been talking about these departments and the goings on in town, I've made it my business in a couple of places to go and ask for a tour. And Joe Beckmeyer, when he came before us during the budget hearing, offered to take me on a tour of the sewer facility. So I took him up on that, and I went.
And I'm that you're a smart woman. You went early in the season, the summer season. Thank you.
I went early in the season. I want to say thank you to Joe and Joanne Mancuso. I'm not sure what I expected to see, but it is truly an engineering marvel.
Yeah.
And hearing someone who's so passionate about their work is so rewarding. I also went to the Interfaith Food Pantry and was shown around by Carolyn Lake and Sandra Benedict. And they serve all of Morris County. 300 people of which are from Parsippany are regulars. And that was a really sobering number as we think about people who are in need in our community and what our real goal, what my real goal, I can only speak for myself, is here, which is that the members of our community, and to think that this room could be filled with the people that they are serving was very touching.
Nice.
When you finished your tour of the sewer treatment plant,
Yes.
at the end of it, did Joe Beckmeyer tell you that the processing is so complete that the water is so pure you can drink it?
One of the chemists in the lab, so they have an on-site laboratory 24/7.
Yes,
They are
absolutely.
staffed 365 days a year. And one of them said it was nearly good enough to drink, and Joe stepped in and said, but don't drink it.
Yeah. He's kind that way.
Yeah,
Yes,
he saved me. But no, it was absolutely fascinating, and they seem to be receptive to anyone. So if anyone's interested in seeing the inner workings of our town, I can highly recommend. It was a very entertaining hour and a half.
Where it's next to, there's the bottle of almost to drink next to the Fiji water. So it's it's getting
You gotta
close.
be
We're
very
getting
careful.
close.
Thank you.
Right, any other council members?
No, not this
Okay, Mr. Lott?
I have nothing.
Mrs. Sandman?
I would like to thank Mike Hardy and I at 9 o'clock on a lovely Tuesday or Wednesday evening, went before the Historical Society and once again requested funds for the Smith Baldwin House to the about a $300,000. I'm pretty confident that we will be getting that money towards the project that we have been working on over the last couple of years. So that was very good. I also did receive a corresponding letter, and we have talked about it at budgets and also at agenda meetings with regard to the $130,000 $36,000, so that will be coming in. One of the other things that I took, I know Ann had spoken to Councilwoman McCarthy, and then on a follow-up, I wanted to show that we do our due diligence. Just because someone wants to give you money, you want to verify that the money you take in doesn't have to be given back the next day, because when money comes in, it gets spent, even in your own budget. So there was that the public service funding, of which last year there was approximately, say, $200,000 that we kept because we were concerned about accepting it as a source of revenue. Then what we did was, because then public service called us up and said, we'd like to give you another $12,000. So I said, I want to make sure I can take the $220,000 before you give me another $12,000. So I want to say something publicly. I know we're mostly JCP&L, but public service, the caliber of the people, they came to us, they expressed it. You saw some of the documentation that I sent in an email, and I compliment them. In my career of 44 years, I have never had any entity come to me and say, we want to give you money, it is yours, we'll prove it's yours, take the money, and keep pursuing us. So what a compliment. But it was one of the things that was helping us with this budget. Every $222,000 you can bring in for work that had been done, and we just needed clarification. So I know Ann was comfortable with it as our finance office, and certainly the administration was. So again, things don't just happen. You have to bring them in. But boy, I actually had a mention at the meeting. I've never had anybody say, I want to come to the meeting so we can show you, take the money, this, it's yours. And I want to compliment also Dean Schnook, because he was somebody that, it was under the emergency when they had to put in a line, and our people were out there night and day to make sure that everybody was protected, and that was their way of saying, we want to pay for that, the cost of you having these emergency people out there day and night. So it was compliments all around. Plus, to get the money is nice too. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Township Clerk,
No report.
offices, committees, reports.
Not this time.
Okay, engineering report. Road improvement projects. The township has bid and awarded road construction contracts for the following projects: Moraine Area Streets, Phase 2, Old Bloomfield Ave, Phase 1, Mount Tabor Streets, Phase 3, Lake Parsippany Area Streets, Phase 6, Knoll Road, and the 2018 road resurfacing project. All projects are anticipated to start within the next 2 to 3 weeks, with the exception of Knoll Road and the 2018 resurfacing projects. These will begin after July 4th so as not to interfere with school traffic and holidays. No township council action required. Bids taken, May 17th, 2018, new dive equipment or approved equivalent for the Parsippany Rescue and Recovery Squad. To be taken, June 21st, 2018, police off-duty detail management system for the police department. And June 21st, 2018, WWTP generator improvements. Quotations, proposals, qualifications, none. Closed session.
Before we go into closed session, Council President, I don't know how I missed the people in the back of the room, but thank you for coming out. As you know, the police contract was up. We negotiated over a period of months, and I believe because of its contractual nature, we're going into closed session to discuss that. Again, gentlemen, thank you, and in particular, I want to thank George and Theobald for their professionalism in working with the administration on the quid pro quo. It was a very good working relationship.
Resolution. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231 permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the Township Council wishes to discuss contract negotiations, and whereas minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires confidentiality, the minutes can then be made public. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills that the public be excluded from this meeting. Motion to adjourn into closed session.
Motion, Grignani.
Second?
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
We're now going to adjourn into closed session. We do not anticipate any action to be taken today.
Motion?
Second?
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
We're back in session. Just to make a quick statement for the record, we completed the discussion with regards to the contract, and there will be absolutely no contract. No, I'm just kidding. Next week it will be on the agenda for council approval. So it will be on the agenda next week for council approval. All right. And I think we can move on to the
All right,
next.
at this
Thank-
time, we'll entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion?
Second?
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is open to the public regarding any matter.
Do I sound like McCarthy?
Excuse me, before we have someone speak, I just would like to commend Ellen and our police officials, our PBA president, and anyone who was in the negotiations. Thank you. Thank you very much. And
Thank
thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. And also Theobald.
Oh, yes.
And Kim Kelly.
Oh, okay.
But, and lovely George.
Wait, where's George? I love
George?
it. I love how, it's George and then it's Theobald.
Well, I pick up from the guys, I said Theobald, not what they really call you. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Sorry,
Okay.
Ken.
Too much information.
All right.
Okay, no, I'm fine. Good evening, Ken Dolsky, 21 Winfield Drive. I wanted to briefly talk about two topics. First, for those of you who were here last year, recall that 15 towns, including Parsippany, joined what became known as the MPG, the Municipal Pipeline Group, to create a legal strategy for all those towns together to fight against the Pilgrim Pipeline. And I think Parsippany put up $6,000, and that was paid as a retainer. The MPG is still in existence and has asked towns to again recommit to it. Although this year they're asking towns to put $6,000 in their budgets as a contingency. They're not asking for the money to be paid as a retainer. So I know Ellen has been in touch with the MPG folks and is working on this. And so if this is put into the budget, you'll have $6,000, and the odds of using it are pretty slim. I don't think anything's going to happen, but you never know. So in case this should come back to life, you would have $6,000 to participate with the 15 or 16 other towns in a legal, in legal action to protect the town. So I would just ask that you go along with that plan, and I don't know where you are in your budget, but include the $6,000 as a contingency in the budget. No problem, right? Second, I wanted to again talk about conformance with the Highlands Act. Now, conformance basically means rewriting some ordinances to make them in conformance with the Highlands regulation, and that's done by having the town planner work with the Highlands Council representative for Parsippany, and go through that process. And that had been started back in, I guess, 2008-9. I know in 2010 there was a document that was produced as a part of that process that created or produced numbers in terms of Parsippany's obligations for fair share housing based on the Highlands considerations, such as water and sewage constraints, open space constraints, etc. And so I'm asking, well, first of all, I spoke to Mayor Soriano about this a couple of weeks ago. He told me that he was vehemently in favor of going back into conformance, and said that he was going to be asking the town planner to begin working on this. So I have no idea where any of you are on this or know anything about it. but I certainly encourage and support this, and I would ask that the appropriate members of the council become involved and aware of what's going on, and be able to tell the public, how this is proceeding and what the progress is. You will obviously be involved because you will be getting ordinances that need to be changed based on conformance with the Highlands. But I also just wanted to go back and mention that once again, by going into conformance, you'll be working with the Highlands Council, and there will be another document that will be created based on what's happened between 2010 and now 2018 to come up with a view of fair share housing obligations. I don't know, I'm assuming that will be helpful to the town in terms of managing to control its growth, because they should be more restrictive than what might otherwise be the case. And as Nick and I have mentioned before, by being in conformance, you do get protection against builders' remedy lawsuits. So it should definitely help the town control growth, and control unwanted growth in the town. So that is where things stand, and I would just ask that you make yourselves aware of what is taking place, and be able to help us and the public understand that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Petaccio, 182 Hawkins Avenue. Couple of questions I forgot. I wanted to know if any employees in the township got overtime in the last year. Can I get a record of employees that if they worked overtime, if
You mean like snow and, I mean, is that just?
all overtime, any employees?
okay.
You know, even in town hall, anybody?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
In the year January, I'm sorry, I know we're not supposed to.
In the
I
year
just-
2017.
Okay, 17?
2017 or 2018?
2018. No,
Or both?
2018.
This year,
No. Yes, this year?
Yeah.
2018 or 17?
Oh, wait a minute.
Is that an old book?
I just didn't word it right.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, in this budget.
Okay, got it.
Sorry about that. I'm just questioning the ordinance via the buffers for gas stations.
That needs to be scheduled, Colette, for public hearing,
Yes.
the conditional use standard?
Yes, we, with regards to that, notices have been mailed out, and we will be scheduling that for public hearing, probably at the next, not the next meeting, but the meeting after.
Okay, thank you. And going back to the budget and that we have money in the police fund. If we do have that money, why are we not issuing Mr. Karifi his money that we owe him? If the money is there and we know we're paying it, why aren't we just paying it out?
That claim is the subject of some litigation, so we're not going to be able to talk about
Okay.
that during public session.
Thank you. Couple of little small questions. Has anyone received a town car with any new jobs this year? Okay. And what I don't remember is when I asked about non-contracted employees, like town hall employees receiving raises, what was the answer to that? Yes, no, maybe so?
White collar, no.
White collar, no?
Only promotions were, only the promotions.
Only promotions?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, only promotions, not adjustments. The adjustments are in that list that they didn't get. It's in the promotion. Too late.
Nick Komiak from Lake Hiawatha. Recently, I put in the OPA request about the open space issue with the water view, and I think the council would find some of the things interesting, and I'm still trying to get it all cleared myself. But apparently, Parsippany did have money pending for Green Acres for quite a while. $721,000, but they didn't apply it to any particular landscape. And in Waterview's case, originally 20 to 26 plus acres was brought up, I believe, in November 2014. but
Are you
early 15, but the town knowing after the former mayor's promise that that was going to be open space, and then boiling it down to the 9.26 acres, what they're calling open space, we never applied that funding. And not only didn't do that, the zoning was flawed, because we could have zoned for that to be, at the very least, a non-structural stormwater control measure, or zoned it for the town for open space. We wound up paying $3.5 million, the commercial value of that land, not its value as open space. So was that by design by the former attorney and the developer? Because when I look at this, I can't help to think that there's a kickback to RD developer. Because if we knew from the time of the former mayor's promise in October of 2013 that supposedly all of that landscape would be open space, and then the finagling to do both, give the developer what he wanted, and then give the town a buffer and call it open space, why did we pay $3.5 million when it could have been zoned that way to begin with? And now maybe all we have to apply against the 3.5 is the state $721,000, if the state wants to consider that as open space. And remember, Morris County said it was one of the worst proposals that they ever saw. And the only other thing I have to say is, anybody who's interested in this information, I'm going to try to bring it to light. I'm going to do a re-history of what happened, because I'm convinced that it was a kickback to the developer. Nobody's going to change my mind. But look around the town. Look around. We need to improve our recycling. We have all these little stores with one trash can. Everything's going in one trash can. Nobody's separating. There's no color codes. We're substandard in our recycling. It's a joke. It's like, you know, it's recycling, but it's really not, according to the supremacy clause of the state of New Jersey, of what we're supposed to be doing. And you heard me say it before, if Morris County is one of the best, then we're in trouble. But we need to go around to these stores and have colored codes, and they need to start separating their trash, because everybody's putting one thing in one container, and it's all going to the landfill, and it's all going to catch up with everybody. And the same thing, the store owners are not keeping their immediate spaces in the gutter and the storm drains clean. And I don't think that's too much to ask of anybody to run a business or even a home in this town. So, you know, I guess I could sing that song forever, but hopefully someday it'll change. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Isabella Alfano. I just want to say that this afternoon you had a public forum for the soft budget meeting at 5:30, which I think is a very inconvenient time for people still coming home from work, which didn't give us enough time to really have an input on what was really discussed. With that said, I live on New England Drive. I currently pay $11,000 on taxes, and before I guess you vote and finalizing, I think there's a number like 3.5% increases. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a significant amount for people. A lot of people living check to check, and a lot of seniors are going to have a lot of trouble paying that. So before you guys think about that increase, you should really think about how people are really going to be affected by that. Lastly, the last administration worked very hard not to have any of those increases affect a lot of the people in this township. With that said, this administration ran on transparency and austerity. And before any of those votes take place, you should really consider that. And I don't know what's so funny, because a lot of families do live check to check.
I do.
Okay. All
Okay,
right,
then.
enough.
So, like I said, I don't know what is funny. And if you do have public hearings when it comes to how we spend our money, it should be at a time where people are available to listen to the data and have ability to come and tell their piece. Thank you.
Mrs. Alfano, if I may, I know you, unfortunately, you weren't able to be here when we discussed that, but had you been, you would have heard the auditor, the town auditor, the business administrator, and the CFO for the town describe how what the former mayor did by having a 0% tax increase last year and taking additional monies, revenue monies from the sewer and the water to get his so-called 0% increase is putting the town in the position that it's in right now. Had last year, for instance, and I use that as an example, and the business administrator and the CFO and the auditor agreed with
will
me.
that 3.5
Well, let me finish.
consistently for how many years
Miss,
is really
lem-
going to?
Miss.
No, because I
Wait,
want to
no, I'm in
understand
the
the
middle of
math.
talk, but hold on, I'm in the middle
Yes.
of talk. Had it gone up 1.75 last year,
Mm-hmm.
under the 2% cap, this budget would have been at 1.75. But because, I'll give you an example, the cost of milk, the cost of bread goes up every year. So we right now, mandated costs that we have no control over, mandated costs that the town must pay, is up an additional $900,000 for pension contributions for all our employees and other things. That alone is over a 2% increase in our budget, which we have no control over. It's state mandated. So technically, we have to cover those costs immediately. So your increase is really only less than 1.5%.
This is the first time I'm hearing about the 1.7 and the fact that it wasn't brought up last year. And like I said, hindsight is 20/20, and I can't talk about something that this is the first time we hear about it. But like I said, if you want our taxpayers to have a comment about something, we can't discuss it if you have the meeting at 5:30.
Well, it was
Well-
actually the third meeting. The other two were later in the evening. The 5:30 today was the only time that the.
Are you done with all your questions?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
that's what I had to say.
Just so you know, last year, the council president, Mr. Valori, decided to have budget meetings at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was even much earlier. This one was our third meeting. It was convenient for all of the council. We went back and forth with all different times, so we figured we would have it, figuring most people get out of work at 5 o'clock, so they would be able, unfortunately you couldn't, but most people would be able to get here, and we could have it before our meeting and go right into our regular meeting. So that's why we had it. But last year, the council president, Mr. Valori, decided that meetings at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is.
If it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and someone says your taxes might go up at 3%, believe me, I think a lot of people would make an effort to come. And that's the point. If it's going to impact people's day-to-day salary, people will make an effort.
Thank you. See no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion, Grignani.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Okay, going through the rest of the agenda, for next meeting, we have the budget introduction on there. Non-consent agenda, resolutions none. Ordinances, status of adopted ordinances. For introduction,
On page 4, I have a question on item number 8.
what number is that, Mr. DePiero?
Page 4, item
Yes.
number 8.
Number 8?
So for
Okay. Would you like that one removed from the consent agenda?
I would like to know what it is.
based on my understanding that this is a firm that is hired to conduct independent auditing services. But that's all I really understand as what this is. We can have more information for you by the next council meeting.
Yeah, I wanted to know what we're going to audit. We just had an audit.
Good question. I can get that information for you.
They were not involved with this. You can't ask
Do you have
that.
any information? Oh,
No, I do not.
Okay.
The business
The mayor
administrator
has to
nor
answer
nor
this
do the CFO. They do not know anything about this one. That's why I'm speaking
Would
on
you
it.
like that one pulled from the consent agenda and put on the non-consent?
Well, as long as we get an answer, yeah, okay, let's pull it let's pull it then, but I'd like an answer before our next week's meeting.
Okay,
What is he going to audit?
okay.
And also, is this company's audit going to be in this year's budget?
Any other questions or concerns about anything listed on the consent agenda?
No, that's my only concern.
Okay, any questions on the applications?
Nope.
All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Motion made, Grignani?
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. McCarthy.
Yeah, seconded.
Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.